busy the last year or so, and we've developed our own Hall of Fame here in the East. When these guys were racing, there was the USSA sanctioned event. They had the Western Division and the Eastern Division for USSA. When they developed the Hall of Fame in 1986, was it 82 they started? There was a little disparage between how many members of the original first generation snowmobile racers from the West got into the Hall of Fame versus how many from the East got into the Hall of Fame. In fact, there's none. If you want to call maybe one, is Herb Yancey from New York. But there's nobody this side of Lake Champlain that ever made it into the Hall of Fame. It's going to change. We now have our own Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. And we're going to start putting the gentlemen that raced in the East, the top riders in the Eastern Division, they now have a home. We have 4 members that are going to be inducted. 4 members here today. It's Bruce Dunham, Bob Martin, Conrad Rollins, and Bob Clark. Bob didn't know about it. He didn't know about it. Let me give you the story on it. Bob's going to be the first to be inducted because we're going to go in alphabetical order. Bob, when I called him and told him about Paul and me getting this thing started, and I told him what we were going to, what the name of the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame was, the first thing he said, you got to get rid of that name, racing. He said, I want it called the Eastern Snowmobile Hall of Fame. I says, why? I said, it's about racing. He says, well, that's the problem. He said, how about Bob Bonhams? How is he ever going to get in there? I says, Bob Bonhams promoted racing. He was involved in the racing. He said, well, but he didn't drive. I said, doesn't matter. I said, he was involved. I said, if you, he said, well, how about Paul Doran? I says, I don't give a hoot in hell how many times Paul Doherty went down into the Allagash. I said, Ted, why not? Wasn't it the other end waving a checkered flag? This is about racing. So, to prove my point, all right, the first guy to get inducted is going to be a promoter. Okay. Get up here. Robert Clark. Good stuff. Let me read his resume. Snowmobile racer promoter. Inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame for 2017. Charter member of the oldest snowmobile club in America, the Lancaster Snowdrifters. Bob helped to organize the first motorized toboggan race in New England while a member of the Lancaster JCs in 1962. He continued his efforts of promoting organized racing in Lancaster, New Hampshire, from competing in the first Grand Prix in 1964 to as many hours of volunteering in to becoming chairman of the Lancaster Grand Prix. Bob left Lancaster in 1969 for a full-time service manager's position at the New England Polaris distributor Harrington King Incorporated of Randolph, Mass. He was appointed as race team manager of Polaris East Racing Team in 1970. Under Bob's leadership, it became hugely successful, qualifying more drivers in this highly competitive sport for the World Series in 1971 than any other team in snowmobile racing. Bob was recognized for this great achievement by receiving the USSA Race Team Managers of the Year Award in 1971. In 1972, he took the job as a salesman for the new Polaris distributor Nelson Small in Portland, Maine, and later became the area rep for upstate New York and New England for Polaris Industries. Bob's resume of the promotion of snowmobiling and snowmobile racing is still being written, from the 50th reunion of his beloved Lancaster Grand Prix in 2014 to present-day events. Bob Clark's achievement in promoting of snowmobiling and snowmobile racing is nothing short of remarkable.
Tall enough, Ed?
You barely got that in my jurisdiction. Is that level?
We'll level it later.
We'll level it later.
Okay, Muriel, you go up there now, please.
Do you want to say anything, dear? Okay, you don't need to.
I think it's pretty well covered.
Come sit down.
No, you're gonna give him the other one?
That's yours to take home, Bob. Yeah.
Can you hold it up so we can see
That's
it, Bob?
Do like all the little kids and stick up for your face. And that, too.
Paul and Mitch, get on each side of it.
Yeah, that's cool.
I didn't sign it.
Paul, look up. Thank you, dear.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
we're all done now?
Apparently he had no idea. Thank you.
Our next recipient is Mr. Bruce Dunham. There's Bruce as we knew him when he was racing in his prime. Remember that, Cal?
He showed me how.
Bruce Dunham, inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame in 2017. Raced from 1963 to 1975, mostly in Mod 4 and 5 class. Was a member of the USSA Driver Committee. Won over 400 first, second, and third place trophies in 12 years of professional snowmobile racing. Had won nearly every major championship in New England more than once. Was second in points, competing against an estimated 5,000 active drivers in eastern USSA. In 1971, Bruce won 7 out of 9 cross-country races and took second in the other 2. The only person to have his name engraved on the famous Kilkenny Cup 4 times. Received Grand Prix Pioneer Award in 2015. Was honored by the state of Maine in 2016. Bruce Dunham, one of the best.
Oh,
got one right here.
No, okay. Hey, hey!
Yeah. Turn it around.
Yes, sir. Edge.
Congratulations, Bruce.
Hey, buddy. You were the great ones, mister.
The next one,
Oh, no.
Mr. Robert Martin. Bob Martin inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame for 2017. Raced from 1965 to 1975 for Timberland Machines Incorporated. Winner of the 1965 Kilkenny Cup, after he got his mother's permission. Grand Prix champion at Laconia, New Hampshire Snowmobile Championship in 1970. Winner of the Exchange Club Trophy at Lewiston, Maine in 1972. He took first place in 3 different classes of modified events in one day at the above USSA sanctioned race, making him the first driver in history to do so. Can you imagine winning in 3 top classes? And that's qualifying and features, all on the same day.
You know, wine big is going to look corn.
He qualified for 3 different USSA sanctioned World Series events. Rhinelander, Wisconsin in 1970, Ironwood, Michigan in 1972, and Malone, New York in 1973. And I think he took some trophies home from these events. Won over 50 major USSA racing events, mostly Mod 4 and 5, spanning 10 years of competition. Was technical advisor for Skidoo dealers in the off-season. And Bob was well known for his great sportsmanship.
I'm going on the wall. I've been there before.
Need you to look this way.
Thank you.
Last gentleman to be inducted, Mr. Conrad Rollins. Conrad Rollins, inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame in 2017. Began racing as an independent Polaris dealer driver from 1967 to 1977. Often won against larger snowmobile distributors and factory teams in Mod 4 and Mod 5 class events. Won the Kilkenny Cup in Mod 4 in 1971. And that's the year that Bob Eastman came to town, and he never took home the Kilkenny Cup, Bob Eastman. As great as Bob was, in 1971, Conrad beat Bob Eastman in the 650 class. And Bob couldn't quite believe it. He goes up to Conrad after the event, and he asked Conrad, he said, what in the world did you ever do to your engines to make that thing so fast? And Conrad told him, Bob, it's not the engine. He says, I just hold the throttle open longer. Was invited by team captain Bob Eastman of Polaris to race Leroy Lindblad's personally prepared 250 Snow Pro race sled at the 75 Paul Bunyan Open. Won every heat race and final by over half a lap. Won a 100-mile cross-country race in Rockland, Maine 5 times in a row with a Polaris 340 TXL. Was a Polaris dealer from 67 to 2004 and was honored by Polaris Industries as Dealer of the Year in 1995, excuse me. Received the President's Award as well as the Trailblazer Award for his achievements in racing and his many years of service in promoting the snowmobile. Great Conrad Rowland.
Yeah, time to show you.
I'd like to introduce a couple of few gentlemen that showed up here today. Bruce Beauregard over there raced in the 70s. And in the middle there, the short guy, the great Cal Reynolds. And beside him, Louis Lund. He raced on the team that Bob Clark was the team manager on back, and he raced with Conrad Reynolds. I can remember when Cal always wore that blue scarf.
Yep.
And that's just embedded in my mind to see him out there, wide open, just unbelievable. He was a great competitor. Bob told me one time, he said I made Cal Reynolds mad one time, and I said, how was that? He said, well, he said we were running into qualifying, and he says I pull up beside him, he pulled his tether switch. I said, I can understand him being a little upset. Yeah, I guess that concludes this induction for this year. And we're going to do the same thing for next year, and for every year after that, until the right guys are here, where they should be.
Well done.
Yeah, I'm on the phone with Midge Rosebrook. How you doing, Midge?
Good, Mike. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. So, Midge, tell me, what is the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame?
The Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame is something Paul Crane and I started here in Lancaster. We felt that there was a need to recognize the guys that used to race here in the East back in what I would call the golden era. Would be from the mid-1960s to the late 70s, maybe early 80s, but mostly I think the meat of the golden era would be definitely the 1970s.
Sure.
And it really, racing here in the eastern United States never really got covered those guys never really got recognized like the Midwest guys did. The factory drivers, you know, and the big name distributors and things like that from the Midwest. They had there's 2 Hall of Fames out there.
Sure.
And you know, they recognize their guys, and it's sad that the Easton guys never got recognized. And how this started was, and I can take you back to when we did the 50th reunion of the Lancaster Grand Prix in 2014.
Uh-huh.
The Grand Prix started in 1964 as a side event for the Winter Carnival when Lancaster was celebrating their 200th anniversary. And it took off. And thank you to Timberland Machines, the big Skidoo distributor here in Lancaster. It was basically Bob Bottoms that allowed his crew to help build the track. Roberts Motors stepped in. Butch and Johnny Roberts, they had a Skidoo dealership there. They helped. White Mountain Mac, there was several businesses in town that really stepped forward and helped the Snowdrifters, the Lancaster Snowdrifters, actually put the event on. But it was a town effort to put this big race on. And at one time, the Lancaster Grand Prix was the largest outdoor winter event in New Hampshire.
Wow.
They were pulling in 15,000 fans.
15,000. Wow, that's a big crowd.
They counted 15,000 fans for a couple of years there in the early to mid 70s at the Lancaster Fairgrounds.
Wow, that is impressive.
It was a half-mile oval track, horse track.
Horse track, yeah.
And Polaris was actually the first factory team to come here in 1966. Bob Eastman and Randy Heights came and raced in 1966. That was also the first year for the Big Kilkenny Cup, which was donated by Timberland Machines to the Snowdrifters.
Oh, no kidding, yeah.
Yeah, and our own Bill Buckland here from town and Bobby Fortin both got their names on that big cup. They were the first 2 to have their names engraved on the cup in '66.
Nice.
So yeah, and the factory teams came here during the '70s. There would be 10 or 12 fully equipped tractor trailers, 45, 50-foot boxes of the major, distributors and factory teams of the day back then. Arctic Cat came, Snowjet, Yamaha, Polaris, Skidoo, Mercury, just about every big manufacturer you could think of came here to race at Lancaster.
Nice.
It was quite something. And then the whole thing ended in New England around 1980.
Around 80, okay.
Or thereabouts. The guys that were putting it on, they were getting tired of not getting enough volunteers to help. The insurance started getting more expensive because people were getting hurt. A couple people got killed, and so the insurance started to increase. It got costly.
Sure.
Even though the Grand Prix moved down onto the meadows, it got away from the telephone poles and the hazards of what occurred at the fairgrounds. It was one of the most safest tracks running back then. And everybody touted how great the track was. They iced it down. In 1976, Gilles Villeneuve came here with that IFS Scarole.
Oh, yeah.
And cleaned house.
Nice.
Yeah, this was the first. He made his debut here with that IFS Garul at the Lancaster Grand Prix.
Oh, no kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, he
Nice.
made his national debut, and in the stands watching that day was Bob Eastman from Polaris. He was the team captain, if you will, Bob
Sure.
Eastman,
Yeah.
and his teammate Wes Pesic was there watching, and this was in 1976, and they were so impressed with that Bob went back to the factory. They raced at Bangor that next weekend. They went back to the factory, and he called up a guy by the name of Gordon Rudolph, who had been himself dabbling with IFS sleds on his own. And he says to Gordon, he said he hired him to come help them set up a new Polaris racer for the next season. It turned out to be that RXL.
Oh, yes, with that suspension, that front suspension.
And
Yeah.
of course we know that that cleaned house.
Sure.
And but in 1977, also, it was the last year of the Grand Prix.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, 77 was the last year of the Grand Prix. And they raced in Bangor, for a few years after that, and Scarborough. But basically, by 1980, 81, 82, racing dried up here in New England, and that was about it. And everybody went back to their day jobs, and it was a strange thing. I can't think of anything, Mike, in these long, cold New England winters that was ever so as exciting and ever made as big an impact as did snowmobile racing back at its height.
I agree. Yeah. I agree.
There's nothing since has been as exciting or as big or made as big an impact financially for these
True.
small towns.
And there's nothing else that'll bring
Lancaster,
people. There's nothing else that'll bring people, thousands and thousands of people, outside in the middle of winter to be spectators. Or something. Nothing else is going to bring that kind of a crowd.
No, and to bring a dozen factory teams from the Midwest.
Yeah.
To send a team of 5 or 6 drivers, fully equipped tractor-trailer trucks. I remember Bob Clark was in the Hall of Fame. Bob Clark was a multi-Grand Prix chairman during that era. And he said one time, he thought it was 1970 or 71, they held up the races because Team Arctic hadn't showed up yet. So they got on to CB, and they located the Team Arctic truck. They said, "Where the heck are you?"
Yeah.
And the driver says, "I'm stuck." And they said, Stuck where?" He said, "I'm stuck here at the intersection." He said, "On your main street." He said, "The traffic going to the track won't let me in." He said, "The traffic is backed up as far as I can see down Lancaster's Main Street, and nobody's letting me in."
Wow.
So they had to escort. They sent a cruiser down, a state police cruiser.
Yeah.
And he escorted Team Arctic's big truck up the left-hand side of the road from that triangle on the end of Main Street there that splits Route 2 and Route 3.
Yes.
And he escorted him up to the fairgrounds on the left-hand side of the road because the traffic was so heavy going in.
That's amazing. That's a great story.
It was something.
Yeah. Now, while we're talking about this, I wonder if you could tell me too. That Lancaster was obviously a massive location and experience for racing, but there were.
Yeah.
How were they doing that? Was there a circuit around New England where they would do Bangor one weekend and Boonville another weekend? And how were they structuring that?
Yeah, that's what they did. Of course, when they came out with the USSA, and they sanctioned, the events, Lancaster was one of the big boys, and we started our date was pretty much set in stone by the time USSA came out, because we'd been racing here since 1962.
Wow.
And then, of course, they called it motorized toboggan races in 62 and 63.
Right.
And then they changed it to the Grand Prix to make it sound better, I guess, for the 200th birthday of Lancaster that year. That's why they changed the name.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Lancaster was on this circuit. Bangor would be, I think Bangor was a weekend either before or after us, and then they did Scarborough.
Mhm.
They did Jackman. Jackman, I think, was probably one of the first races in the east here, Jackman, Maine. I think that happened like in December or something like that. And, yeah, they had a race in Laconia, had a race in Boonville, New York. And, yeah, it was like a circuit. It was big time.
That's cool.
These guys were professionals. They were pulling $1,500, $2,000, $2,500 a weekend in. You know, like Bobby Fortin was one of the big name drivers here in the East, and where I used to work at the golf station here in Lancaster, he always used to come in, and he'd have a check of $1,000 or $1,500 to win.
Wow.
Plus he'd get so much, he'd get a couple $100 from a spark plug company or dry belt company. Yeah, these guys were professionals.
That's cool.
And it was an exciting time.
Yeah,
it
for
really
sure.
was.
For sure.
And so anyway, when we decided to do a 50th reunion of the Grand Prix, a lot of the old guys that used to race back then came to the reunion. And I even have a photo of a bunch of them lined. You've seen it at Paul Crane's.
Yes.
Those guys all lined up on the racetrack.
Yeah.
And they got me in there, and I kept telling them, I said, I didn't race. I said, I should not be in there. Well, they begged me to they made me go in. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't have been in that photo, but I was.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's nice, though.
it really got me to thinking, it's sad that these guys never got recognized.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think that planted a seed.
Now, can you
And
go ahead? I'm sorry.
And I think it did. And then in 2016 we had the national show here.
Yeah.
And it packed the fairgrounds, with a bunch of whole beautiful vintage sleds. It just was an unbelievable show.
Yeah, it was. I was there.
And,
That was an incredible show.
Wasn't it great?
It was.
A great show. And so there again, here's Conrad Rollins, Tom Peters, Bruce Dunham,
Mhm.
Bob Martin, all came back. And they were getting into it again. So anyway, I said to Paul, I said, I tell you who it was. It was a gentleman from, I think it was the Hall of Fame from St. Germain, Wisconsin, was there selling a raffle sled. He was selling tickets for a raffle sled
Mhm.
for that Hall of Fame, and I had before that I had sent Bruce Dunham's, Bob Martin, and Conrad Rollins resumes out there just to see what would happen. I wanted to see if maybe I could get one of those guys into the Hall of Fame out there. So
Yeah.
Paul approached the guy, and he was on the board of directors as well.
Mhm.
So Paul asked him what his thoughts of Bruce Dunham making it into the Hall of Fame that year. And he had a puzzled look on his face, and he said, Bruce Dunham. Boy, he said, that doesn't ring a bell. He said, I know he's not in the top 10.
Wow.
And Paul came to me, and Paul says, they're not. He says they don't even know who Bruce Dunham was.
Wow.
He said they're inducting 35 and 40-year-olds out there now, Midge. He said there's no chance.
Yeah.
He said we'll never get them in. He said there's not a chance. So anyway, I went back home, I didn't sleep. Actually, I think I went up to camp up to Maidstone, and I rolled and tossed and turned all night. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, I sat up, and I said right out loud, I said, and my wife wasn't even with me or nobody, I was all alone.
Yeah.
And I said, that's it. That's it. And I could not wait. This was Saturday. I could not wait for Sunday morning to get a hold of Paul Crane and ask him, you know, if so anyway, about 7 o'clock Sunday morning, I didn't want to get him too early, so I waited until 7. So I grabbed the phone, I dialed Paul's number. Paul answered, and I says, Paul, you sitting down? And he says, no. He said, I could. I said, what are your thoughts on having our own Hall of Fame? I said, we could do it at your museum. Paul says, let's do it.
Nice.
Just like that.
Wow.
And that's how it started.
And the ball has just continued to roll from there.
And it's continued to roll from there. We inducted our first inaugural 4 people into the Hall of Fame in 2017. It was May 19th, I think, of 2017. We inducted our first 4, and then the next year we inducted 5, and then the next year we inducted 5 more, and then this last year we inducted 7.
Nice. Now, can you tell me about some of these people who've been inducted, and also what qualifies someone to be inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame?
You know what? You don't have to have a perfect record.
Mm-hmm.
I think you know, when you say the Hall of Fame, the word fame means famous. Okay, that's just a short for famous.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Hall of the Famous, really.
Sure.
And Tom Peters. For an example, we just inducted Tom Peters this year. He's from northern Maine, way up near the border of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But Tom Peters was a hero to those guys up there. And he never raced in any place but Maine. Never went outside of the Maine borders.
Yeah.
And to those people in those small little towns in northern Maine, there was no bigger name than Tom Peters.
Wow.
And he was actually inducted into the Maine Motorsports Hall of Fame. The only snowmobile racer to be inducted into the Motorsports Hall of Fame.
That's an honor. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
That's a high honor.
But I think they did that because he only raced in Maine.
Yeah.
So, did he have as big a record as Bruce Dunham? No. Did he have as big a record as Cal Reynolds or Bob Fortin?
Right.
No. But to those people in northern Maine, Tom Peters was the biggest name in sports right there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the reason why Tom Peters is in the Hall of Fame.
Nice.
And I can pick out a few other people that may not have had perfect records, but they were big names here in the East.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to give, not everybody can make it into the Hall of Fame. I realize that. Everybody should realize that.
Sure.
But if you did something special, if your name was one of the big names in the East, even though you might not have had a huge record,
mm-hmm.
you got a good shot.
Yeah, good shot of being recognized.
And, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we've got Bruce Dunham in there. Bob Martin is in there. Conrad Rollins. Those are the first guys that we inducted.
Mm-hmm.
Calvin Reynolds from Maine is in there. There's quite a few Mainers. We've got, of course, Tom Peters. I just mentioned Tom.
Sure. Paul
We've
Lamontagne.
got Paul Lamontagne.
Yeah.
Paul was he was big.
Yeah.
Paul was a rough racer, and then later he raced Chaparral, and then he raced Mercury. Paul, the name Paul Lamontagne was huge here in New England.
Yeah.
We've got Joe Wilkinson from Massachusetts. We just inducted Joe. Louis Lund, we inducted Louis in
2018, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And Louis only raced maybe 3-4 years. I think he got number 9 bib one year, so he's top 10.
Yeah.
But what made Louis special? He may not have had as big a record, maybe as Bob Fortin, but what made Louis special was he was the first person to drive an IFS sled.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was racing for Harrington King in Randolph, Mass. in 1972. They were the Chaparral distributor. They flew Louis out to Colorado. Chaparral had a secret race sled that they were working on out there.
Yeah.
And guess who he was working with?
Huh.
Bobby Unser.
Oh, no kidding.
Bobby Unser designed the first IFS suspension on a snowmobile, and Louis was the test driver for Bobby Unser.
No kidding.
So
Yeah,
that
that's
made
no
Louis
small.
Lund, he was the very first person to drive an IFS sled. And what sled today doesn't have an IFS suspension?
Yeah, that's standard today. Yeah,
So that in itself
that's huge.
is a reason why Louis Lund needs to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and so that's how we pick and choose the folks that need to be there.
Yeah.
You know?
Very nice. Now, what, or I should say, when and where is the next induction ceremony going to be?
The next induction ceremony is going to be September 11th, which in itself is, not a very nice date to maybe have it, but it's the weekend after the fair,
Okay.
and I'll probably say something, about September 11th. And,
Yeah, to kind of honor that solemn moment.
A little something there, right? But it seems to be the best date for us because we're inducting a person from New York who is heavily into stock car racing, and his grandson races stock cars, and he's on the pit crew.
Yeah.
And so that happens to be the only open weekend for them.
Gotcha.
So in order to have him be able to attend the induction, that's the weekend we had to pick.
Sure. And this is going to be at Crane's Museum in Lancaster?
Yes, this will be at Crane's Museum, and we'll do another outside ceremony. That seemed to work really good.
That was very nice.
Hopefully it doesn't rain.
Yeah.
If it does, we'll try to do it Sunday probably.
Yeah.
As a rain day. But hopefully, usually by that time in the fall, we have really, really nice weather.
Yeah. And I'd like to add, too, that if anyone is planning to attend this from out of town, there's no other place to stay.
Lancaster Motel.
The Lancaster Motel, absolutely. There are good friends over there.
Absolutely. They've stepped to the plate. They are so all over this thing. The Lancaster Motel grew up with snowmobile racing. I believe that was built in 1956.
Mm-hmm.
It was built by Norman McLaughlin.
Yeah.
His daughter Sally married Mike Beatty, who is in the Hall of Fame at Riverside Speedway as a stock car racer. He was a well-known stock car racer here in New England back during the 60s and early 70s.
Yeah.
And Mike Beatty was a multi-Grand Prix chairman. So there's a big history of the Lancaster Grand Prix tied to the snowmobile circuit racing.
Yeah.
And
didn't they used to have the award ceremony at the Lancaster Motel?
That's where they had the award ceremonies during the original Grand Prix.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the racers stayed there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, can you just imagine, Mike, bellying up to the bar with Bob Eastman or Larry Coltham.
That would be amazing.
You know, or one of the Trapp brothers, or I mean, they were all here. That's where they stayed.
That would be amazing.
This place is huge.
Yeah.
Not in size, but in history.
Yeah, the history is rich.
Yeah, very rich with the Lancaster Motel. So I think we probably will have to make that our official site
I agree.
for the Hall of Fame. The Lancaster Motel is the official place to stay.
Yeah, for sure. There's no other.
And and they fixed the rooms all up. The people that just purchased the motel have done a tremendous job on the place. They've gone through every room. They put in all new Wi-Fi, new TVs, refurbished every room.
New flooring, everything.
They brought it back up to snuff, and it's going to be it's a great asset.
Yeah,
to
and
the
it's just
town and to this Hall of Fame.
and it's just walking distance from the ceremony.
Yeah, it's only a block away.
Yeah, from Crane's Museum and the ceremony.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now let me ask you
Yeah.
this: each year that I attend this induction ceremony, the crowd gets bigger and bigger. So this is something that's growing, and the future is looking bright. What are you thinking are plans for the future for the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame? What are you thinking about the future of this?
Well, we're going to try to continue adding more of the original racing pioneers that raced, back in the day.
Yeah.
They're getting older all the time. They're in their late 70s, mid-late 70s, early 80s, and we'd like to get them, here while they're still with us.
Yes, the clock is ticking.
That being said, when I did Cal Reynolds in 2018, we put Cal on the wall, and he was huge back then. He was a skidoo racer, and he won about everything going.
Yeah.
And anyway, after the ceremony, instead of going up for photos, instead of thinking about himself, Mike, I felt an arm across my shoulder. And it was Cal Reynolds whispering in my ear.
Huh.
He said, Midge, he said, Bob Fortin really needs to be up there. And I says, I know, Mike. I says, I know, Cal. You know what, though? What we're thinking about doing is getting all the people up there that are with us first, and then we'll try to do the ones that have passed away at a later date. And he shook his head and he said, Midge, he said, that Bob Fortin needs to be up there more sooner than later.
Yeah.
And so I told Paul what Cal said. And Paul said, yeah. He said, what we probably should do is induct 4 people that are with us and maybe one who's passed away each year.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Their families aren't getting any younger either.
That's true, isn't it? Yeah. Good point.
So in 2019, we had Bob Fortin's 2 sons, Michael and David, attend. And I asked Cal, I emailed Cal, and I said, Calvin, would you please say a few good words about Bob Fortin, because you raced against him. He raced for Timberland Machines, and he knew Bob very well. He said, certainly. He said, I'd love to do that. So I introduced Cal when we did Bob, and his 2 sons stood up there. It was quite moving.
I remember that. It was very touching.
Yeah. So, yeah, Calvin did that for us, and we thanked him. And I know he's a busy man. Cal's got several businesses over in Maine there that he has to attend, and so I said to him, I said, when he said, yeah, I said I would do Bob Fortin for you guys and say a few good words about him.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm just pleased that you could do this just one more time for us, Cal. I know you're busy. He said, Midge, let me tell you something. He said, as long as me and my wife Mary Ann are able, we will be attending every single Hall of Fame induction that you're going to hold here from now on.
Nice. And he's true to his word. I've seen him at every one.
Yeah. And he spoke this year at Ted Wynot. Ted Wynot, of course, was the flagman for those guys for years and years. He was also a Yamaha representative, and Cal sold Yamaha over there in Maine. So, you know, Ted was over there a lot, and he was a good friend of Cal's. And so Cal spoke a few nice words about Teddy this year.
That was nice,
too.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, very nice. So any final words, Mitch, before we close this interview? Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to add about the Hall of Fame?
Well, I just want to tell you folks how much we appreciate Mike LaPierre here that's interviewing me. Mike has gone overboard for us, and I just have to put that in.
I appreciate that.
We really appreciate everything you do, Mike.
Well, you're very welcome.
As far as this Hall of Fame, we hope to continue this down the road, and we hope to get as many of our original pioneer racers who were big names back then on the wall at Paul Crane's museum, and that's basically where we're at. And these inductions are free. Anybody can attend. Bring a lawn chair and join us. If you are my age, I'm going to be 70 in March. If anybody out there remembers those events the way I did and stood out in the cold for 3 hours or 4 hours watching those guys race, if you can remember the exciting time that was, then this is for you.
Yeah,
because
reliving the golden
age. You get to cheer
age.
these guys on. You get to shake their hand. You get to talk to them, and you get to see these guys be recognized. That you know, it was just an event that will never come back again. We'll never ever see anything that exciting again. And if you want to relive those moments just one more time, please join us. And the next event is September 11th, 2021, at Paul Crane Snowmobile Museum in Lancaster.
Yeah. And I'd like to add to that, to what you just said. Right now is the golden age of celebrating the golden age of snowmobiling.
Exactly.
It truly is. And I'd like to invite everyone who's within driving distance to come on by and enjoy it with us. It grows, it gets bigger every year. It's a wonderful thing. Yeah, stay at the Lancaster Motel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and come by to the after party at the Lancaster Motel as well. It's a wonderful time.
They have an after party at the motel. I mean, you know, back years ago during the Grand Prix, I told these guys, I said, you race handlebar to handlebar all day long and stand elbow to elbow at the bars all night.
That's true.
It was. They used to pull the engines off because, you know, these guys. These guys are crazy. They used to pull the engines off their sleds and take them inside the motel room and rebuild them for the next day's race.
Nice. And that's one of the remarkable things too about racing is they can be so ruthlessly competitive out on the track, but after the race is over, they party together and they have a good time and they laugh about it.
Yeah.
It's incredibly ironic, but it's a wonderful thing about racing is that the relationships are more important than anything. It's a wonderful thing.
Know, they made lifelong friends, Mike.
Yeah.
You know, these guys when you their eyes light up the minute they see an old competitor.
Yeah.
that they haven't seen for 40 years,
Yeah. And to watch them reminisce, it's a truly special thing.
They sit down
They're in
and
heaven when they're doing it. They love it. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's more like a family reunion.
It is.
Yeah.
And to hear all those old stories, and because they can recall like a specific moment on some turn in the track during a race where things were happening, and kind of relive that, and it's incredible.
Yeah, or laugh because about an incident that some guy pushed them off the track when they're in the lead, and they'd say, "You pushed me off the track, you pushed me over the bank," or something like that, and then they laugh about it. They probably weren't laughing at the time, but
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is only gonna be a small window here too.
It's true. The clock is ticking for all of us.
Like I just said, they're 75, 80 years old, 85 years old, and they're not going to be around forever.
Yeah. Yeah, the clock is ticking on all of this.
We got a small window here to enjoy these guys.
Yeah, to really do something with this.
To appreciate these guys.
Yeah.
And women.
Yes. Yeah, there were some truly remarkable women in this racing as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Judy Rinaldi.
Yes.
10 World Series.
That's incredible.
She won 10 World Series.
Yeah, that's amazing.
No man has ever done that before. So, she's, there's nobody close.
No.
Unbelievable. And
the nice thing about her too is to think about someone so accomplished, but to visit with her, she's just the easiest person to talk to and the most relatable, personable person. Very down to earth, just a classy lady. It's and I could say the same of the rest of them as well. For all of their accomplishments, they're very down to earth. Yeah,
those are the nicest people.
It's true. Yeah,
They're
no
really
egos, just very approachable.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
They all are.
It's true.
Yeah. No, Paul Lamontagne. Who wouldn't want to party with Paul Lamontagne?
Yes, he is the best guy to hang out with.
Lucky guy.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun to visit with.
He's a lot of fun.
He really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, I appreciate your time with us, Mitch, and we'll close it out. But I really appreciate your time, and we'll have more interviews on this topic, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Alrighty.
I've got more tales to tell.
Well, good. We'll look forward to it.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for this, Mike.
You're very welcome.
At the end of this video, we'll take a look at MadRamp's innovative pivoting ramp system, the safer, easier way to transport your ATVs and snowmobiles. Stick around. Before we begin, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our friends at the historic Lancaster Motel in Lancaster, New Hampshire. The Lancaster Motel has been serving snowmobilers since the 60s, and they are the perfect eastern trail riding destination for snowmobilers young and old. The Lancaster Motel is right on Corridor Trail 5 in Lancaster, New Hampshire, with plenty of parking for vehicles, sleds, and trailers. Plus, the Lancaster Motel is within walking distance of Crane's Snowmobile Museum, plus restaurants, shopping, entertainment, and more. Click the link in the description to learn more about the Lancaster Motel. Good evening and welcome to the podcast. I'm really glad you're here tonight. Now, if you can see my face and hear my voice, I'm going to ask you to leave a comment Just let me know where you're viewing this from so we can make sure that everything is working properly. I'm going to give you folks a minute or so to do that, and then we're going to be getting to our first guest. Let me show you what we have on tap tonight. In a few minutes, we're going to have Jim Layton on. He's going to show us some vintage ski-doos, and you can see there on the screen some of the other things we have. Also wanted to let you know that we are simulcasting in 3 different places tonight. First, of course, is the Vintage Snowmobile Lovers Facebook page. Also, we are on, let me find the card here. We're also simulcasting on the Wheels, Keels, and Snowmobiles Facebook group. Now, this is a great place to view and post if you like anything with a motor. This could be cars, trucks, boats, ATVs, snowmobiles, anything like that. It's free to view and post on there. We are also simulcasting on the Wheels, Keels, and Snowmobiles YouTube channel. So if you like videos about anything with the motor, this could be cars, trucks, boats, ATVs, snowmobiles, anything like that. If you like that type of video, click the link in the description after this podcast. It'll take you to the Wheels, Keels, and Snowmobiles YouTube channel. So let's not waste any time. Let's meet Jim Layton. Let me bring him to the stream here. How you doing tonight, Jim?
Good. How are you?
Very good, thank you. I appreciate your coming on. Now, we've been chatting. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Great event. Glad to be part of it.
Well, glad. Thank you so much. I'm glad to hear that. Now, you mentioned earlier you've got some vintage ski-doos you'd like to show us. Are you ready to give us some show and tell on that?
Yeah, we can do that. I'm going to try to turn the camera around here so we can go through it.
Sure.
Remember how this is all done here in front?
That's all right. Take your time.
All right, there's my feet.
Sure.
All right, so we'll start with a sled that I just brought in. It's not a ski-doo, but it's pretty close.
I remember those.
1971. I'm actually doing this for my cousin. He was looking for something that his grandparents used to ride, and that happened to be one of them. So we picked up 8 of them to see if we can make 2. So
wonderful.
Starting off, this one's a single-cylinder sled. It's got the slide rail suspension. It's kind of a Johnny Cash sled. Got a 400-gallon single motor and a slide rail suspension on it. So,
sure.
But it'll be a fun sled when we get it together and get it on the trail.
Nice.
So, yep.
Now, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second, Jim.
Yep.
We've got a lot of comments coming in from people saying that they can see us and hear us. I'm going to ask them if they have questions for you to please post a comment. And as those come up, I'll read them and ask you the questions, and hopefully you have an answer for us.
Well, we'll try.
Wonderful. Yeah, please continue, Jim.
We'll do our best. So we'll go over. I got a few motors. That's a Sachs motor for one of these ski rules. That's a 340 SS motor. It's, I guess from what I understand, it's pretty desirable engine. I'm not much of a ski rule guy, so don't know a lot about them.
Sure.
Move on to my 66S motor with the twin carbs.
Nice.
Got the chassis of that down back. There's a motor from my 65. That's also with the chassis down back. The 64 motor and chassis are still together. They're all sitting in the trailer. We got a 440 TNT engine out of a 71 Skidoo. We'll move over on. Here we go.
While you're going over there, Paul Bilodeau has made a comment. He said that's an oldie but a goodie. I'm not sure which of the engines or if it was the ski roll, but he likes what he's seeing. But please continue.
We got a 292 Black Dot engine.
Nice.
This is a 71 340 TNT.
Yeah.
And this motor here was from one of the almost first racing sleds that my dad had, which I still have everything to. It just needs an awful lot of work. That's a 669. It has the dual carbs on it.
Nice.
So I've got that. I've got the whole sled. It just, like I said, it needs a lot of work, but it ain't going to go anywhere, even if I don't ever get a chance to fix it, just because, again, it's another one of his.
Yes.
We'll move over here. We've got a 340 Black Dot. It's a beaten up old machine that we like to race around with. I've done it some grass drags, and we've taken it on some ice drags and some radar runs. We try to run it in a little circuit that we have here, but it hasn't got much running in that circuit. But it's a fun little machine to have around. So it's a fun toy to play with.
Yeah, with that black dot, that's an interesting piece of history right there.
Yes. Yeah. So then here's my lineup that for some reason I'm very partial to the 1970 Olympics.
Yes.
Not sure why. I just love the bubble nose. I've always had a 1970 Olympic for the most part. As a kid, I remember, I think actually the first one that we had was a 69 12-3. And what we're seeing here, closest one to me is a 70 12-3. That is this one here. I just got this fall to kind of looking in that 70 lineup that Skidoo had. The only one I'm missing is 335 had an electric start, one of these, and that would make the fourth round that they had in 1970 for the Olympics. But I have all three sizes.
That's cool.
So this one is the one that I just got. I'm going to do hopefully a lot of work to this, picking up a seat. Going to probably put it together first, get it out running and playing it, and then we'll strip it down. And I think that may be one that I might take and really clean up and paint really well, and then just work my way across the line.
Yeah, that's a great foundation for a project.
Yep. Next one's the 335. And that's a single cylinder, obviously.
Yeah.
And then the next one over is the 399, which is a twin.
Nice.
So,
Now, we do have some comments coming in. I'll interrupt you real quickly. Tom Peters, a mutual friend of ours, has come on. He's saying hello. He likes what he sees. And then Jeffrey Saunders says he has an Olympic as well.
Yes. There's a lot of these out there. They are so much fun to drive.
Yes. And they're iconic.
Yes. The 399, I got that out of a barn. The barn actually collapsed. I did have to find another Callan for it and a steering post. But beyond that, everything else is totally original. The 335 I actually found in town here on somebody's backyard, covered in an old tarp that had been sitting there for years. That kind of averted me. And then I found it when the wind started tearing the tarp apart. This one is basically totally original. And the same with the 12.3. What you see is what it was when I picked it up just this fall.
Nice.
So those are my babies. I really like the 70 lineup. We have quite a few different sleds when it all comes down to it. This one right here I got, and I'm holding on to it for dear life for my granddaughter.
Yeah.
71 Kitty Cat, hanging in the rafters of my garage.
Wonderful.
Still has the original seat on it. It's in pretty good shape. So
Nice.
Runs really well. So
Now, Jim, is that the first year they made the kitty cats?
What's that?
Is that the first year they made the kitty cats?
From what I understand, I believe that is the first year the Kitty Cat was made.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Oh, and Brian Roberlard is on here. He's admiring your collection. He's a fellow Ski-Doo enthusiast as well, and he says he likes your collection. So please continue.
Thank you. Yes. So in amongst those type of things, I like to kind of work my way around and have a few little toys of different sort that I can take to a show. And this is obviously probably things I've seen on the internet before, but it was something that come out of my head that a friend of mine helped me build. And essentially we took a little Murray mini bike. The front ski is often a 67 Ski-Doo chop down. The rear end is a double track, and that is often a Sears snowblower.
No kidding.
And the engine is often a big old, and I don't remember which snowblower, but the engine is a Kohler motor, often another old snowmobile. And we just kind of pieced it together and kind of made a fun little toy out of it. It's something that I can get on and drive around the grounds with at a show. and people just kind of look at it and go, "Wow, what is that thing?"
Yeah, I bet that gets a lot of double and triple takes, and yeah, that's truly unique.
So that's kind
And
of that's one of the neat little toys that we were working with.
wonderful. And Chuck Lako is on here too, and he's saying nice collection. So
Thank you.
we've got a lot of people on here admiring what you have in your garage there.
So what I've got here tonight is a small handful of what we have between me and a friend of mine, and we're hoping to stick together a building locally here where we can house these things. Rather they look the way they look that you're seeing right now, or their sleds have been totally redone and look brand new. We have the kind of the from one end of the spectrum to the other of something that we pulled off a rock pile to sleds that have been totally redone and brand new. And that is something that we're hoping to put into this. We kind of affectionately call it a museum, but obviously it won't really be a museum, but it'll be something that's local here for people if they wanted to come see it. But I think more or less we're really building it for ourselves to work on our sleds where we can all get together as friends and have fun and put things together. So we have some pretty unique stuff. My hopes is that maybe the next time that we talk, I can put together some of our factory race sleds that we have. And
yes,
we can show those. We have some Blizzards. We've got some Articats, Snowjet, some different things like that that they're pretty fun sleds. So the one of them is Tom Peters. He purchased it and rebuilt it. It's a 71 Blizzard 440.
sure.
And the thing is literally brand new. It's never had fuel or oil in it. It's never run. When he rebuilt it to brand new spec and then left it
Wow.
on a stand. Never been started. So it's a really cool type of thing to have. It matches my father's 71 797 Blizzard,
Sure.
which you'll see when we do that. That's an original sled that he bought brand new from a local dealer when he was racing. And we'll go over that stuff at a time when we can kind of show those.
Nice. Now we've got David Crawford on here. He's complimenting you on that Mini. He really likes that. And he's also wondering about this museum project that you have going. He's wondering where that is.
We are looking to try to do something in Caribou, Maine.
Caribou, Maine.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah,
and I hope you'll come on
that's,
every now and then and give us updates with your projects and the museum project and all of that.
We will. It's like I said, it's something that my buddy really is. He really enjoys it. He enjoys picking up these sleds, and we all enjoy getting together and rebuilding them and riding them. And so it started out to be a workshop, so everybody could be together, and it just turned into something that hopefully we're going to have the right building to kind of work on stuff, but also have everything lined up that that it's all there, and if somebody wanted to come see it, we could open the doors up and show it off.
Wonderful. So I imagine at first it would start as almost by appointment only, so to speak, and
it
at some
probably
point
would, yeah. And that
Sure.
may be what it is going to be. If we can even get there, that's our hopes. You got to find the right building and have the right, to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But we do have to have a place for our sleds because there's quite a few sleds. So he's pretty diligently looking for something or going to do something. So eventually I'm hoping we'll have something that we can share with the public a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. And if anybody viewing this knows of something in the Caribou, Maine area of a building that might be possibly suitable, definitely reach out to Jim and or to me even, and I'll relay that to Jim.
Yeah. So this going back to talking about this sled right here, the Black Dot and the vintage racing. I think it probably for us here in Maine, it all extends to the one lunger 100 in Turner, where they do the big single cylinder race every year that they've gone on
Sure.
for so long. And then there's a group that started a race circuit, and that race circuit has gone on for a few years now, and it extends from the single cylinders up to the twins and triples and whatever, And it's quite a circuit that runs from one end of Maine to the other. A lot of riders, a lot of fun. We jumped in on that a couple of years ago as a fundraiser for our cancer fund that we have in Limestone. So we've been raising money to help patients out that can't afford the gas, the hotel rooms, the food, the trips to go to Bangor, Portland, or Boston, or wherever they need to go. And we started that out by doing a motorcycle ride, and then we got into doing a little few other fundraisers, and then we joined in with this race. And actually this month here, we have dished out in the 5 or 6 years that we've been doing it, we dished out $100,000 in help for cancer patients.
That is impressive.
So that is something that we're pretty proud of. That we just got word on that's the money that we've raised over the years and helped people out. So that's
impressive, and that offers genuine help to people who really need it.
Yeah.
Now, do you have a website or anything for that fundraising effort?
We don't. We have a Facebook page. It's called Brian's Ride.
Brian's Ride. Okay.
Yeah.
So if someone is curious about that, search for Brian's Ride on Facebook if you're curious about that, and that would take you there. But I didn't mean to interrupt you. You've got a poster on the wall there. Please tell me more about that.
Okay. So this poster's my father's Blizzard. I took this picture here when in 2010. It was sitting in the gravel pit down back of the farm. And then in 2018 is when my father first got his hands back on it after the Kiefers had restored it. And I got it back from the Kiefers after it was totally done, and brought it home and surprised him with it. And so he's standing by it when it had been sitting forever, and then after the restore. So
wow. So before and after.
Yeah.
That's an impressive restoration.
It's a beautiful restoration. They did a wonderful job.
Yeah, for sure. That's really nice.
So if I can turn back around here, camera. Oop, there we are. All right. So I'm not sure if anybody's got anything else. That's kind of what I got here for tonight.
Yeah, I really appreciate your coming on. And David Crawford has commented, good work. He said it's really good work.
Thanks.
And yeah, I appreciate your coming on. And I hope you'll come back every now and then to show us more of your projects and keep us posted on the museum as well as the fundraising effort.
We will. And hopefully if we can come out of this and we can have our race in March, I definitely will be back on to let you know how that's going. And if it's going to come around, that's quite a race, and maybe we can have a little bit of video from that here and there. And
yeah, I'd like to talk to you about that. Yeah, once we offline, we'll see if we can make arrangements to do something live from that race.
Yep.
And once you have dates or any kind of arrangements, keep me posted on that, and we'll put it on here.
I will. I'll keep in contact with the operator of that from Tame the Track, and see how he's coming with it, and we'll see how this whole COVID thing works out. And if it does work out and we can have a race, then I'll definitely get back with you on it.
Wonderful.
Hopefully sometime next month or maybe in February, we'll have some race sleds sitting somewhere where I can kind of do the same thing again.
Yeah, that would be great. We would love to see those. And I'm sure the audience would as well. And we've got more comments. David Crawford says, thanks to Mike and Jim. And your friend and mine, Tom Peters, says this is great. He really likes it.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, great. Thanks for coming on, Jim. Have a wonderful evening.
All right, you too.
All righty, take care.
Yep, bye.
All righty, so let's change screens here. Actually, before we do that, we've got a whole lot of people that have come in here and made comments from the very beginning of the program, and I apologize that I've neglected you. So I'm going to go through those real quick. Flint Stone is talking about a 1980 Citation 3500 277 mod that he has. Kevin Blessy, Kevin is a regular on here, and we appreciate him coming on. He's here from Dayton, Minnesota. Thank you, Kevin, for coming on. And I think we're going to have him on a future podcast. We've been emailing behind the scenes, and I think at some point we might have him on. Flint Stone says that he's from Hudson Falls. And I love the wordplay on your name, Flint. We've got Dennis at Eveline Bastarac. I think that's French, and I'm certain I'm butchering it, but I thank you for coming on, Dennis. Thank you for giving us the thumbs up. Flint says he wish he had his Elan right now. Scott Verdon is here from Hudson, Michigan. David Crawford from Columbus, Indiana. Jesse Shanor, he says he can see us and hear us from Ranchester, Wyoming, out west. Wow, he might be one of the furthest west watching this right now. Also, Jeremy Love from Manitoba, that's out west as well. Lyle Ritter from Hatteras Island, North Carolina. Brian Robillard from Putnam, Connecticut. You may remember Brian from last week. He had a vintage Ski-Doo on. Great guy. We'll probably have him on here on another episode sometime soon. Joe Zeinart from Hortonville, Wisconsin. Lyndon Dewey. Bill Lutz from Cranberry Lake, New York. Chris Goodrow from Haverhill, Massachusetts. Jeffrey Saunders from Kingston, Ontario, Canada. Al Simpson, greetings from Peterborough, Ontario, Canada. Rich Milkey from Fond du Lake, Wisconsin. David Crawford is on. George Zandbelt from Winchester, Ontario. I think George has been on here a couple of times before. That looks really familiar. And if I'm correct, George, that you are a regular viewer, I really appreciate your coming on. Tom Peters is on from Maine. We've been emailing today. I think we're going to be having Tom Peters on an episode in the new year. So do stay tuned for that. Brad Curtis, he says, glad you're doing this, Mike. With no shows in New York, this gets you into the vintage mode. Vintage snowmobile shows. Okay. And he's brought on a couple of his buddies to watch. So thank you, Brad, for bringing on some of your friends to watch. We really appreciate it. Well, this is great. This is great. Let's switch gears. Thank you, everyone, also for all of those comments. So we're now at the show and tell section. And I had some show and tell prepared for you. You heard me talk about Kevin Blessey a moment ago. Well, this is an image of a sled that Kevin Blessey sent me. This is owned by a friend of his, Tony Rainey, and it's a 1972 Rupp Nitro. And we're going to be bringing Kevin and his friend Tony on here sometime in the new year to show us some of their sleds and projects. Also, as part of show and tell, a gentleman I was just talking to today in Newport, Vermont, James Roy, he's got a cool restoration he's working on. We're probably going to have him on at some point. But right now, he's looking for an early 70s Ski-Doo caboose. Any help with that would be great. And if you know of anything like that, leave a comment in the comment section. James is going to be monitoring that over the next few days, and he will find that and reach out to you if you make a comment to him. Also, we've got Terry Brown. Terry Brown is in need of an airbox shroud for a Yamaha SRX 440. Any and all information on where to find one of those would be great. So if you know of anything like that, leave a comment in the comment section. And Terry Brown is going to monitor these comments over the next few days, looking for comments that might be of help to him. So before we change screens, I also wanted to tell you about our website, VintageSnowmobileLovers.com. That's a great way to find some of our videos. This is a screenshot of it. You can see some of our videos, and if you scroll down, there's a whole bunch more. So let's get on to the next portion of the program. Now, we had Colin scheduled to come on with a 1969 Alouette wood sled, and unfortunately, he's not able to make it tonight, so we're going to talk about that in the new year. But that is a truly unique sled, and I look forward to bringing that to you. Likewise with David at OMC Warehouse. He's running late. I'm hoping he may come on by the end of the podcast to show us some things. He's got a second warehouse other than the one we did last week, the one we viewed last week, and he's got some more sleds he'd like to show us. So we're looking forward to having him come on. Now, in a moment, we're going to look at Kenneth Young being inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. But before we do, I wanted to tell you about these fancy schmancy hats that I had made. I'm trying to get it in front of the camera here. If you like this hat, I'm going to be making some more, having some more made. We'll talk about that in the new year. But if you're curious about that, either leave a message in the comments or send me an email. I'll show you my email address here at the bottom of the screen. If you're curious about a hat like that, I'll keep you posted as I start making arrangements. Now, I've also got this cool mug. Let me change the screen here. Oops, that's not what I had in mind. Okay, let me see if I can get this mug in front of the screen. I'm also going to do up a batch of these mugs. Now, I spent a little extra and got black on the inside and on the handle. And if you ask me, I think it really sets it off and makes it classy. And I'm going to be doing a batch of these. If you'd like to order one, leave a comment in the comment section or email me, and I'll keep you posted when I start making that batch. And what I'm probably going to do is have packages where you can either order a hat or a mug or both, and I'll also include a couple of DVDs as well as a sticker. I've got stickers, but they're not within my reach, but I'll leave you in suspense for the next time we go live, and I'll show you some stickers, and maybe by then I'll have packages ready. But let's not delay this any further. Let me cue up the video for Kenneth Young being inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. Here we go.
Kenneth Young, inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame 2018. Ken raced for the famous Widowmakers racing team. Raced Skidoo during the 1968-69 season, winning 7 first-place titles at 5 events entered, taking second in points. He switched to Arctic Cat in 1969, earned his first gold bib #1, and went on to win first place in Mod 4 at the first World Series of Rhinelander, Wisconsin in 1970. Ken won 4 first place and 3 second place trophies in 7 events entered, and took a 4th place in Mod 2 at the 1971 World Series in Boonville, New York. Kenny never lost a race he entered in Mod 1, Mod 2, and Mod 3 during the entire 1971-72 season, taking 10 first-place wins. He also won in Mod 1 at the 1972 World Series in Ironwood, Michigan. He won all 3 races he entered in the 1972-73 season, including the New York State Championship. At Redfield, New York, on the first lap, in the first race of the 1973-74 season, Ken was injured in a bad crash in turn 3. He retired on the spot. What a record! This is Kenny's son right here. Kenny couldn't make it, and Dirk is accepting it in his honor.
Yeah. So I just want to thank everybody for showing up, and thank Midge for dogging us, finding us. And Dad's alive and knows I'm here, and he'll appreciate this very much. So for me and my family, thank you very much.
So there you have it. Ken Young has been inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. Now, that was from the induction ceremony in 2018, and we thank his son for coming there to accept that award for him. Now, if you're not familiar with the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame, this is something that's growing very rapidly and becoming a popular thing among the vintage snowmobile set, especially in the eastern states. If you'd like to attend the next ceremony, it's going to be Saturday, September the 11th, at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll be at Crane's Snowmobile Museum in Lancaster, New Hampshire. Now, the nice thing about this event is it's located at Crane's Snowmobile Museum. So if you get there a little early, you can walk around the museum, check out the sleds. You can also mix and mingle with the attendees. The attendees, of course, are inductees, past, present, and future. And there's a whole lot of vintage enthusiasts there. So a lot of people to network with and visit with and schmooze with. And then, of course, once the ceremony is finished, then we all move over for the after party, just walking distance away at the Lancaster Motel. And it's a wonderful after party. And if you're planning to come from any distance and looking for a place to stay, no other place to stay than the Lancaster Motel, because you can stay at the motel. It's walking distance from the ceremony, and you can be there at the after party, and you can stay there until it winds down, and then just walk to your room and retire for the evening, and yeah, just call it a night. So let's set up our next video. We're going to look at. I'm just trying to find it here on the interface. We're going to look at some of Greg Allen's racing Polarises. Also among these Polarises, he's going to talk about Midge Rosebrook's sled. If you're wondering who Midge Rosebrook was, he's the gentleman in the red shirt that was presenting that award at the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame, and he is it was his idea. He is the one that created that Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. So let's go now to the 2020 Crane Snowmobile Museum Vintage Snowmobile Show. Let's meet Greg Allen.
This is Midge's sled. The PDC got last summer when they got the induction. This is one of mine. This is a beautiful sled. This might be the winner here today. I'm thinking that's a rare. It's a clone, but it's a beautiful job. The way it's made it. Nice vintage race sled you're gonna find.
Yeah.
And I brought a couple of my own. This is a RXL clone I built. I think the first one I had out was 2015. I got Best of Show here. I still race this. A couple of weeks I got a race with this over in Harrison, Maine.
Yeah.
And then I brought a 77 TXL.
How you doing, Dave?
I raced that up here in the Kilkenny Cup. I got a third place in the senior class for that. So this is one of my favorite sleds, 77 TXL. First year liquid for Polaris. That's kind of like the holy grail of Polaris right there. First liquid motor. This was the fastest year of the TXLs. And then this is just another oval sled. This is just a 250 TX set up for oval racing. Special power on it. Blue tanks. This is the stuff I love right here.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Hey, Greg. Okay, so that was Greg Allen at the Crane Vintage Snowmobile Show at Crane Snowmobile Museum in Lancaster, New Hampshire this past February. Now, Paul has this show the first Saturday of February every year, and I was speaking with Paul just earlier this week, and he confirmed that as of now, assuming this COVID business doesn't get any worse, he is planning to go on with that show. So here are the details for that show. This will be the first Saturday in February, which is the 6th of February. The address is 172 Main Street, Lancaster, New Hampshire, I should say. Registration is at 8 a.m. The judging is at noon. And this show is walking distance from the historic Lancaster Motel. So if you're coming from any distance, that's the place to stay. You can park at the motel, walk over to the show, and you can even rent snowmobiles at the motel and do a little trail riding while you're there, or you can trailer your own in. But here are the details for the Lancaster Motel if you're thinking of coming to this event. So let's take a look at what's next here. We've got some, we talked about the upcoming vintage snowmobile events, the Crane Snowmobile Show. We have confirmation on that. Let's cue up our next video here. This is Lauren Kanzior's 1974 Ski-Doo TNT.
My name's Lauren Kanzor. I'm from Pearisburg, Vermont. This is my 400 free-air mod. 74 400 free-air Ski-Doo, fully studded track, carbide skis. I've got handlebars from a 72 Blizzard on it because the Blizzard original handlebars were wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't like them, so I replaced them with the Blizzard handlebars.
She gave me hell for kneeling on that.
It's got a 102C clutch on it.
We're dealing on it. Yeah. I just use mother's rag and wheel polish and rag, and it's going to start with a nice one.
Still has the original
That was a nice one.
Toast and HD carburetors.
Every now and then I have to redo it.
These are the things that you top. You got to get a re-chrome, right?
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
Wait, something in Canada called Deco.
Yeah, that's a sharp sled. Go ahead.
A little Blizzard tag right here. I made that. It's a piece of paper laminated between plastic and glued in there.
That's
So
cool.
that spot.
Nice. Well, cool. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, that is a really nice example, and it was nice to meet Lauren. I believe that was 2019 at the Goffstown, New Hampshire Vintage Snowmobile Show. I think they have that every October 2019, and I'll keep you posted as that is being planned. I'm friends with some of the organizers of that, and I'll keep you posted as that gets a little closer. So we're going to wind down the show here. I wanted to let you know, of course, we have this podcast every Thursday night, and of course, next Thursday is Christmas Eve. The Thursday after that is New Year's Eve. So rather than go live with the typical format, what I'm going to do is next Thursday, I'm going to air the complete induction ceremony of the 2020 Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. So we're just going to air that from beginning to end for all of us to enjoy on Christmas Eve. And then I'm going to do the same thing on New Year's Eve, but instead of the 2020, of course, it'll be the 2019 induction ceremony of the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. So do look forward to that next week and the week after. And again, if you'd like to join us at the next induction ceremony, it is an awful lot of fun. And there's just so much going on between being able to walk around the museum, to look at all the vintage snowmobiles in the museum, to be able to meet and greet and mingle with the inductees, past, present, and future. It's just a great, great time. And I encourage you to join us. It's in Lancaster, New Hampshire, Saturday, September 11th, 1 p.m. Get there a little early so you can go in the museum and mix and mingle with some of the inductees, past, present, and future, and just a whole host of vintage enthusiasts. It's a great time. And of course, if you're coming from any distance, be sure to stay at the Lancaster Motel. The after party's right there at the motel. Once the party winds down, you can just wander over to your room and call it a night. So that is all I have for you. I'm going to finish with this video, and my apologies. I had a couple of other live guests that were going to come on, but things have come up, and it is Christmas time, so it's hard to plan things this time of year. But I look forward to booking them in the future, in the new year. And if you would like to come on live, or if you know someone who you think should come on live with some interesting sleds or memorabilia or suits and swag, email me. Let me put up my email address. Email me at this email address that you see at the bottom of your screen, and we can make arrangements to have them come on, whether it's you coming on, pardon me, or a friend coming on. I love the idea of this live format. And let me know in the comments if you like this. We saw Jim Layton earlier in this podcast. Let me know if you enjoy that, because I would like to get to a point where I've got the contacts to be able to have that back to back to back with people coming on here live. I think that's an awful lot of fun. Personally, I'm hoping that you do too. And I want to hear from you one way or another if you like that, or maybe if you're not liking that. But I think it's a great way for us to all have a live experience and be able to engage with each other, because as someone is presenting their snowmobiles, we all can be making comments in the comment section, and then I can ask the questions to the person presenting, and we can get answers immediately in real time. So to me, that's an awful lot of fun and a great way to experience this wonderful hobby of vintage snowmobiles. I'm hoping that you feel the same, and let me know what you feel, whether you agree, don't agree, or have other ideas for the podcast. Please leave me comments, and I appreciate all of the comments that have been left here tonight. Before we close, I'm going to take a last look at the comments, see who else has come on. Patrick Goudreau. Yes, thanks for everything you do. He says, I met Pat Goudreau at the Crane Vintage Snowmobile Show last February. Great guy. We had a really nice visit. Brad Curtis says, good old Everest and Kenny kicked the factory's butt back in the day. Yes, he did. Thomas Eichstadt. Oh, yes, what a record Ken had. And Brad Curtis is congratulating Kenny. Okay, Thomas Eichstadt also has a question. What is the chain pitch to a 1969 Panther? So that's a thing you guys can do too. In these comments, if you have comments, questions, any kind of technical questions, just post them here in the comment section. And then also browse the comment section looking to see if you have answers to these questions, or if there's anything there that might be of interest to you. We have Ron Loridan from Evanston, Wyoming. John Shorn. He appreciates my efforts, and I appreciate you appreciating my efforts, John. Diane Baker is on, saying, nice job, Mike. Thank you, Diane. Johnny Jensen is on. Gary Ostonsky, first time listening. I appreciate your coming on, Jerry, and I hope it's not your last time. We look forward to having you on here every now and then, hopefully every week if you can do it. Tom Peters, thanks for listening. He said, first time listening, great job, and I thank you for coming on. Thanks, Mike, for a wonderful show. Tom Peters says, I apologize. This as I'm reading the comments, they're bouncing as people are adding new comments, so I end up on the wrong line. John Beckman from Grays Lake, Illinois. Doug Reinstra is on here. I think Doug is a regular. I've seen that name before. And Perry Kemmons. So, yeah, you guys are amazing. I appreciate your coming on and being on here every week. It really means a lot. Yeah, with that, I will wish you all a wonderful Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We will catch you on the other side. But if you have nothing better to do on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, look for us here. We're at the same time, same bat channel. We're going to be airing the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. The one for 2020 will be on Christmas Eve. The one for 2019 will be on New Year's Eve. All right. Merry Christmas, everyone. We'll catch you on the other side in the new year.
It's the ultimate combination of simplicity and ingenuity. The newest way to load, unload, and transport your ATV or UTV. The Mad Ramps Pivoting Ramp System. Made in the USA and engineered for strength and durability. Maneuver through tight places and over rugged terrain with plenty of ground clearance. No licensing, no ongoing maintenance costs, and no storage hassles like trailers. Won't slip or move like conventional ramps. Free up more cargo space in the bed of your truck. Securely connects to your truck's receiver hitch. Easily extends for safe loading and unloading. Seamlessly retracts for highway and off-road travel. DOT approved in all 50 states and Canada. Quickly disconnects in under a minute. A unique space-saving storage system. The Mad Ramps Pivoting Ramp System. Go farther. Go faster. Go safer.
When you order using the link in the description, I'll send you 3 free Vintage Snowmobile DVDs. When you order using the link in the description, I'll send you 3 free Vintage Snowmobile DVDs.